Welcome to Scrum Masters Elite _UK. Sign up to analyze, learn, and improve together every day.
Stephen Larkham's statement that the rankings are fairly accurate may sound simple at first, but it carries a very frank admission. No evasion, no excuses. In elite sports, this kind of honesty is both admirable and, in a way, painful. Rankings do more than reflect results, they expose gaps in skill, fitness, tactical thinking, and competitive courage. When the top 4 teams all come from New Zealand, while the Australian teams are left behind, this is no longer about a few lost matches. It is a sign of a trend. What strikes me even more is how the New Zealand teams win. They don't just win, they dominate in the smallest details, set-piece situations, contesting the ball, maintaining intensity until the final whistle. These factors do not happen by chance. They are the result of a persistent training system, a culture that values discipline and attention to detail. When Australian teams consistently struggle with lineouts or contests, I do not see this as the fault of individual players. Rather, it is a symptom of a deeper issue, a lack of cohesion in developing fundamental skills. This becomes even clearer when looking at the numbers: 11 botched lineouts compared to just 1 by the opposition.
A seemingly dry statistic, yet decisive. In elite sports, victory sometimes does not come from flashy plays, but from repeated precision in the most basic situations. I was also impressed by the atmosphere in Christchurch. The vibrant energy, the packed stadium, the presence of fans from everywhere, it all creates a feeling that rugby here is not just a sport, but a part of life. The long-term dominance of the Crusaders comes not only from expertise but is also nurtured by a deeply passionate sporting community. Conversely, the dull years in Melbourne make me reflect on the relationship between sports and cultural environment. A team cannot thrive without support from fans, tradition, and shared belief. When a sport is marginalized in its own home, it will inevitably be reflected in performance. However, what I value most is not the failures themselves, but how individuals respond to them. Harry Wilson's performance is a case in point. Numbers like 16 carries or 16 tackles are impressive. But more important is his impact on the game.
He doesn't just play well, he lifts the entire team. This raises a question: in a struggling collective, what is the role of an individual? Perhaps it is not about changing everything, but creating anchors, moments from which confidence can be rebuilt. Meanwhile, key positions such as fly half reveal another issue: instability in resources. When names like Carter Gordon or Tom Liner face injuries or lack playing time, the entire team structure is affected. This is not just a short-term risk, but a reflection of how a sporting system prepares, or fails to prepare, for the future. For me, a clear lesson emerges: there are no shortcuts to sustainability. What we see on the surface, victories or defeats, is only the tip of the iceberg. The submerged part is decisive: preparation, discipline, and the ability to maintain standards over time. Sports is not just about celebrating victories, but about learning to face reality. Loyalty to a team should not exist only when it is at its peak. It is even more meaningful when the team is struggling.
But that support must be accompanied by clear-eyed perspective. No sugarcoating, no denial. For managers and professionals, it is a reminder that competition never stands still. When one side moves ahead and the other does not keep pace, the gap widens. Eventually, catching up becomes far more difficult than maintaining. Whether in sports, work, or personal growth, the rule is the same: if we do not continuously improve, we will be left behind. The key is not to avoid failure, but to understand its causes. Looking back, I do not feel pessimistic. On the contrary, I see this as a necessary moment. Sometimes, only when we confront the truth clearly can individuals and teams find the motivation to change. Perhaps this year, Australian teams cannot yet break the curse in New Zealand. But if they honestly assess the problem, as Larkham did, then these defeats can become the foundation for a stronger comeback in the future. For me, this is the greatest value of sport: not just the results, but the journey of learning, adapting, and relentlessly moving forward.
Learn from failure, respect the details, keep moving forward. See you at Scrum Masters Elite _UK.